Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now today we've got a relatively old puzzle actually for you by tenaliraman. And the reason this puzzle's come up is it contains a between lines constraint. It's called In Between Disjoint Killings. Now why, you might ask, are we looking at an old puzzle with a between lines constraint? This is a very good question. Well, it's because I noticed that Fistemafel has just released a new puzzle on Logic Masters Germany which does use the between lines constraint. So I said to one of our testers, I haven't done a between lines puzzle for a long time. Have you got anything you'd suggest that I sort of warm up with? He said, yes, this is a very good puzzle. So I was looking forward to doing it and I thought, oh, I'll get the rules. So I went to Logic Masters Germany to get the rules. And I've noticed that this puzzle, while it does have an extraordinarily high approval rating of 98%, so it is a fantastic puzzle, it also has a difficulty rating of 5 out of 5, and quite, there aren't many solves of it either, so this is monstrously difficult, and it's got disjoint sets in it. So I feel I've been stitched up like a kipper here, frankly, and I'm suspecting the Fistemafel puzzle might be a lot easier than this one, but we shall see. Before I read you the rules, a couple of things to mention. Obviously, we've got all this extra stuff on Patreon at the moment. Do check it out if you haven't already. There are some wonderful, wonderful puzzles and bonus videos there. And of course, in just a few days' time, we have this new Sudoku hunt coming out on the 1st of March, which I know you will love. Now, anything else? No, nothing else. I want to get into this puzzle. Let's have a look. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. Cells in the same relative position with respect to a box cannot contain identical digits. So this is our old friend, disjoint sets. So what does it mean? It means that this square, for example, and this square could not contain the same digit because they are in the same position within their 3x3 box. They're both in the top left-hand side of their 3x3 box. So in effect, one way of viewing this constraint is that the set of digits that I'm drawing now, so those 9 cells, have to all be different. So that is another set of the digits 1 to 9, as would be this one. The bottom right cells would be, all of these yellow cells would have to be a complete set of the digits 1 to 9, etc. It's a monstrous constraint because, if you're looking at this square and you're used to scanning columns and rows, and this box, you have to also force yourself to scan down here and check these cells to see whether or not they are impacting the cell down here. Yeah, anyway, you get the impression, or you get the idea. Now, what else have we got? We've got clues outside the grid give the sum of the digits along the indicated diagonal, and digits along these diagonals may repeat if allowed by other rules. So this is standard Little Killer Sudoku, so that's saying those 5 cells there have to add up to 16, and we can repeat digits. Obviously those 2 digits can't be the same because that's going to break the rules of Sudoku in that box, but it would be possible to do that and that, for example. That would be fine because these 2s are all in different boxes and the fact they repeat on the line is allowed under the rules. Now finally we've got this between lines constraint. So digits along lines in the grid must be between the 2 digits in that line's circles, and digits on the lines may repeat if allowed by other rules. So let's look at a line. We've got a line here. So that's telling us that these 4 cells, whatever we put in these 4 cells, has to be between whatever we put in those 2 squares. So if I make that a 4, no, 4's a bad choice. Let's make this a 3 and this a 7. We would know that these cells would have to be made up of 4s, 5s and 6s. So you can't repeat the digits. You couldn't have a 3 here because the 3 obviously is not between 3 and 7. It's equal to one of them, and that is not allowed, or at least I don't think it is. So do have a go. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as always, and now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And one of the first things that strikes me here is how little information tenaliraman has included in this grid. I mean, there are obviously there's 6 little killer clues, none of which at first blush look like they are particularly restricted. I'll check the 16 in a minute. 16 is probably the place to start because that's also on a between line. But this 25 as well. These diagonals look... Oh, I'm not seeing anything else. Let's have a think about this. So, right, the first thing I think... Yeah, oh no. Hang on. Ah, no, I can see. Yeah, if you try and put 2 in one of these two cells here, let's imagine that, in fact, let's just put a 2 in. Let's imagine this is a 2. How is this diagonal going to work now? The answer is not very well, because the minimum I could make this pair of cells in box 4 would be 3 and 4. The minimum I could make these two squares in box 8 would be 3 and 4, because I have to keep beating this 2. And that means I've now got 14, I've got 2 lots of 7 on this diagonal. I've got to get to 16, but that means I'm going to have to put a 2 here, and I can't because 2 is not higher than 2. There is a knowledge bomb. So I think the first deduction we can make relatively swiftly is to say that there must be a 1 in one of those two circles. Now, of course, I have no really good way of notating that because my pencil marks always refer to the contents of either cells or boxes, and saying one of these two squares has to be a 1 is tricky. Maybe if I highlight them, I'll highlight them. That's a good idea. Purple means there has to be a 1 in one of those two squares. So let's look at the minimums then. So we've got 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, I suppose. So that means we've got 12. So there are, unfortunately, many degrees of freedom along here because we've got to get to 16. And once we allow ourselves to minimize one of the circled cells, we don't get much of a restriction along the rest of that diagonal. I don't think. Am I missing something there? I don't think I am. I can't see what it is. Apologies if there's some very basic bit of logic that I'm missing, but I don't understand how I'm meant to restrict those. I'll come back to it if I see nothing better. Now, the 11th clue is completely hopeless. The 25 clue. Oh, I see. Ah, right. Now, first interesting, or not interesting, but the first really cunning deduction is that it doesn't matter which of the purples contain a 1. The purple cells are in the bottom left-hand cell of their box. So neither of those two squares, which are in the bottom left-hand cells of their boxes, can be 1s. So now let's double check this now. So does that mean there has to be a 2 in one of these? If we go for the low digit being a 3 in these circles, then we'd have to go 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. So that's 18, 22 plus 3 is 25 before I even take into account the higher digit, whatever that is there. So that is broken, and that's good. We like breaking things in that way. This square or this square now has to be a 2. Again, I have no way of notating that I'm going to be comfortable with other than using colours. So green will mean there's a 2 in one of these. Now that means, look, that those cells now can't be 1s or 2s. So the minimum digit on so the minimum digit in these circles now is 3. 3, 4, 5, 12, 25. I don't actually think that's terribly helpful. That's interesting though. Right, anyway, let's check the 25 diagonal for what its minimum would be. We know there's a 2 in one of the greens, so we can go 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. So what's that add up to? 14, 17 plus the 2 is 19, plus we have to put a digit into the other side. So we know that we know one of these sides is a 2, but the other side has to beat the digit 4. So it would have to be at least 5. And I think that gets you to 24. So we've got, let me just double check this. We've got 7 here, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, and 7 is 24. Right, that is very nearly, it's very nearly really good, but it's not bad, because what I can see is that you can't, there looks like there's 1 degree of freedom on this diagonal. And that's true, except that there are some cells you can't increase the value of because you will use 2 degrees of freedom. For example, if I make either of those 4s a 5 instead, let's imagine I went from a 3-4 pair to a 3-5 pair, I lose 2 degrees of freedom because now one of these edge cells couldn't be 5 anymore, it would have to be 6. So increasing one of these by 1 increases the circles by 1. And that uses up 2 degrees of freedom, which I don't have at my disposal. So these, I think these have to therefore be 3s and 4s. But this one is different. That one could be 4, and if that's 4, I don't affect the possibility of just putting 5 into those cells. The other thing that could happen, of course, is that we leave that cell at the value 3, and then we remove the 5 from one of these squares and make it 6. So we've either got 2 6 in these squares and a 3 here, or we've got 2 5 and a 4 here. There we go. That's definitely some. Now, oh, hang on. And now I've got 3s and 4s. So yeah, if we look at the disjoint set that's akin to these two, or disjoint sets that are akin to these positions, they map to these positions, obviously, around the grid. Let's keep that going. Now, none of these yellow cells now anywhere can be a 3 or a 4, because if this is a 3, this will be a 4, and vice versa. So the 3 and the 4 have gone from the top middle disjoint set, and the same is true of the middle right disjoint set. And I'm sure that matters, but I don't know how it matters. Okay, let's ignore that then. Oh, now this is very cool because now I've changed the minimum for these cells, haven't I? Because I can't do 2-3 pairs anymore. I can't do 2-4 pairs either. The best I can do is 2-5 pairs. The lowest I could possibly make these 4 cells now is 14. Oh, that's it. Okay, so if these yellow cells have a minimum value of 14, and we know there's a 1 in one of the purples, so this has to be higher than 1, it has to be 2, and this is a forced diagonal now. This diagonal must add up. Well, it does add up to 16, but that's the only way it can work, and we get our first digit, a 2, in this position. These squares, I don't actually know what they are, do I? Because these cells are not included in the 16 diagonal. So I know, although I know one of the purple cells is a 1, the other could just has to be higher than a 5, and it could be 6, 7, 8, or 9. 2 is definitely ruled out of the top right positions. I mean, you can obviously see it. Those positions we'd get just by Sudoku scanning. It's these positions that are the interesting ones. Except here it doesn't seem to do anything at all. Okay. So what do we do now? I've already looked at this diagonal. I just don't think... Am I going mad, or is there something we can do with this diagonal now? I've got 2s and 5s. Look, I've got the same as with the 3 and 4s. The 2s and 5s are restricted in these positions in all of the boxes. Which doesn't seem to do anything at all. I know there's a 2 in one of the green cells, don't I? I'm just wondering if that affects these pairs here. So if this is a 2, yeah, okay. There is something about these, the fact that these are 2s and the disjoint sets that involve these 2 5 pairs. If this is a 2, look what it does to where the 2s go along this diagonal. You can't put a 2 here, so you have to put a 2 here. But the moment you put a 2 here, it actually affects this pair. If this is a 2, which one of these can be a 2? Because you can't put a 2 now in here, or it will repeat in that disjoint set, the sort of middle left cell of each box. So you'd have to put a 2 here, but the logic is absolutely symmetrical. If, on the other hand, you put the 2 here, where do you put the 2s? You have to put a 2 here. This removes it from that disjoint set, and so you always get a run of 2s in the middle of this diagonal. So we don't know, we don't know which of these is a 2, but it doesn't matter. You still get this run of 2s here, and you must get 5s in those positions. And that 5, these 5s here see both of those possible 5s. That is beautiful. So the interaction between these 2 lines is it's gorgeous. It sort of you can whittle away, go backwards and forwards between the 2, and in the end I think we've actually got one of the lines fixed. Oh, no, I was about to say now this can't be 1 6, but that would be nonsense, because we don't know which of these is a 6, and whichever one isn't a 6 would still leave the option of 6 into one of the purples. Right, okay, so what has this done for us, if anything? 5 is in one of those cells, but I must actually try and remember to do Sudoku. I've not had much opportunity to do that yet, because we've basically had no digits, but this 11 diagonal now can't be 2 9 or 5 6, so that's 4 7 or 3 8. Oh, I know what the other thing that's done. Fixing this as 2 6 has used our degree of freedom on this diagonal, hasn't it? So now this has to be minimum. That's a 3. I'm just going to double check this line again. So I've now got 17 and 8. 17 and 8 is 25. Happy days. This 3. Now, hang on. These cells cannot be 1 or 2 because of the purples and the greens. Now they can't be 3 either, so the minimum I can put into those circles is 4. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. The 5s, look. This line is far more, it's being pushed upwards by everything that's looking at it. Firstly, because you can't put 3 or 1 or 2 in the circles, the minimum value we could put into the circles is 4. But now what can we put along the circles? Now we know we have to beat 4, but 5, because of these positions, cannot go in either of those cells. So we're up to a minimum of 6, 7 into these squares, which means that the upper limit has to be at least 7. So the absolute minimum now for those squares is 25 out of nowhere. And we've got to... That means we've got an absolute maximum of 12 for those cells. They see the 3 4s on the... Right, this is interesting. These cells here, we need to check them. Because these cannot be 3... I don't think they can be 2 either. Let's look at the 3 4s though first. We've already looked at this. You can't put 3 or 4 in any of the reds because of the disjoint sets. You also can't put 2 in the reds because of these 2s in the grid. Well, you've got to be able to put 1 in then. Otherwise, these have a minimum value of 5 and 6 in each case. And that would be 22 when we're trying to get to 12. So it must be possible to... In fact, it's just forced, isn't it? If I can't put 2, 3 and 4 in the reds... The minimum I can put into each one is 1 and 5, which means the absolute minimum I can make these add up to is 12, and that's what I have to get to, because I cannot keep this any lower. So I've got no degrees of freedom in my 12. I cannot increase this anymore because I cannot make these smaller. That is absolutely extraordinary. So this 37 diagonal is actually forced as a result of the interactions of the disjoint sets, the between lines on this line here, and then how they all interact on the... It's quite stunning, actually. It really is. It's superb setting. And, well, and I found it, so I'm feeling proud. So what does this mean? It means that the other thing I like about this puzzle, actually, while I mention it, is that for all its difficulty, it's a sensible solve so far, at least. You know, it's very much telegraphed. You've got to start thinking about this, these lines down here, because there's not really anywhere else to go. And then you can see very quickly that they are having some impact on this. So it's not completely unreasonable. Now, that's probably famous last words. It's probably about to get unreasonable. So 1s and 5s are now obviously removed from the top. So in fact, the top set, these positions, you can now see we've got a 1-5 pair, a 3-4, it's not actually that good, and a 9. So the other digits, that can't be 5 anymore, because there must be a disjoint. There must be a 5 in one of those two cells, so this can't be 5. And this can't be 5. Exactly the same logic. That's lovely. Okay, so I get a 5 here. Is that right? Have I just fixed the 1s and 5s? This can't be. This can't be. That's so cool. So this 5 now disambiguates the red 5s. Red 5 standing by. And we get the 1s. And okay, now does that double click the 5s and have a look at them? Can we do something with this? Oh, I've got a 12. I've not even looked at this one at all. Yes. Look at the 12 little killer clue. This square can't be a 6. If that's a 6, we have a problem, because those two squares have to add up to 6 without being 1, 5, which means they have to be 2, 4, and you can't put a 2 in either of the cells. So this is not a 6, which means it's a 2, which means that's a 6. Okay, is that important? I hear you ask. The answer is I'm not sure. This is, I mean, it's an amazing puzzle because even now, it looks to me like I've now used everything in the. I suppose those have to add up to 10. Let me just double check that. 3, 7, or 4, 6. I don't know anything about 3s, 7s, 4s, and 6s in those positions. If they were there, I would. But like now, it looks like I've got to just finish the puzzle using this diagonal, which is a 25 diagonal, and this between line that I don't think I know very much about. I mean, I can see this square can't be a 1. Is there a reason this square can't be a 1? I don't think so. So sorry, I think I'm missing something here. Well, I'm sure I'm missing something, I just don't know what it is. 2s by Sudoku have to be up there. I'm going to check the disjoint sets. So, yes, there's a 2 here. That can't be a 2. So we get a 2 up there. Now, okay, I'm going to focus on 2s then. So 2s have to be in one of those cells. It'd be lovely if I could force it onto the line. Then I would know that had to be a 1. Oh, look, I actually get the 2. It's not where I wanted it to be, but there's a 2 here. So that is not 2. The 2 does go there, but it's not on the line. So I can't assume there's a 1 in the circles. 2, I think, is in one of these 2 cells. And no, oh, I misscanned that. For some reason, I thought that one was the equivalent of that one. It's most certainly not. Don't think anything's looking at this. So where does the 2 go in? Ooh. Oh, this is gorgeous. Yes. Where does the 2 go? In box 6. Now, it's got to be by Sudoku. It's in this pair. But this top right cell, this 2 down here, is beautiful. Locks it out of there. Forces it onto the line. So we now know there must be a 1. Because the 2 must be between 1 and something. The 1 can't go there. So that's a 1. Which means there's a 1 in one of these 2 cells. Let's check. Oh, 2. Look, we can just. I think we're going to finish the 2s in the puzzle. 2 has to go there by Sudoku, therefore there. And I think if I double click, I have done all the 2s. Right, let's start checking the positions of 1s in the disjoint sets. So I've got 3 1s in the grid. Actually, that I don't think that is a profitable thing to do. I can't see how they're. I don't think I can do those 2 squares. Hang on. So what have I got here? I've got 25 on this diagonal. I've got 4 already. So these 3 squares add up to 21. Oh, that's a way of removing 1 from there, isn't it? That can't be 1. Because if it's 1, those 2 squares would have to add up to 20. And however hard I try, that won't work. And now the 1 gets placed here because I can't put it on the between line. Because I can't put 0 into there. Okay. I have a horrible feeling there's something more I can do with the 1s, but I'm not seeing it very quickly, so Okay, so where else can I look then? I don't know. I don't know whether to look at disjoint sets or to look at I don't really know where to look, or to look at this diagonal or to look at this between line. I think this between line is the least likely to be the next break in, because this can be anything apart, any high digit apart from 8. So what goes on this line feels incredibly unrestricted at the moment. Five is a little bit restricted in this box. Look, it can't go in any of those 3 squares, so 5 is in one of these 2 positions. Can we get rid of it in one of those positions? The answer is... The thing is, the answer could be yes, and I'm just not seeing it. It's really... I really find it very difficult to scan these puzzles efficiently. Okay, so I don't think it's this. Right, have we got any disjoint sets that are basically full, or at least where we've got quite a lot of information in them? It looks like it's one of the sets that correspond with these 9s and 8s, I think. So let's check the top one first. We've got one. Double click the wrong one. So I can see I've got a 3-4 pair. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 9. So 6, 7 and 8 have to go into these. Hang on, that can't... Oh no, it could be. I've not paired off my 6 and 7 yet. The 6 and 7 doesn't have a pair. So it looks like the yellow cells here, the ones I haven't yet placed in this disjoint set, have to be 6, 7 and 8. So let's take a look at that and see if we can do better. So there's definitely an 8 in one of these 2 cells. I mean, this is madness. Is this telling us anything? That's interacting very slightly with the 25 clue. Let's check this one instead. So we've got that one, that one, that one. So in this disjoint set, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, and 8. So we need 6, 7 and 9 into these squares. Oh, I've spotted a set I've not looked at. I've got a 4-8 pair now in the bottom left-hand corner of boxes. Whoa, okay, sorry. I think I should have been looking at this set. Let us have a look at this. Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe not. I'm not sure. So in this set, we know that one of these cells, which we can't really see anymore, there's definitely a 1 in one of those 2. 2, 3, 4... I've not got 5. I've got 6. So 5, 7 and 9. Is that right? The answer is I'm not sure. 1, I know 1's here. 2, 3, 4. 5, 7 and 9. Yeah, okay, so I think these cells have to be, and I know some of these can be tidied up more. For example, I can't put 5 into those because they will clash with the 5s I've already got there. So that can't be 1 either. Or 9 actually. This one's gone down to 5 or 7. We got anything? 5 can't go there. Oh, right, that's absolutely brutal. That is brutal. Look, where can 5 go in this disjoint set? The answer is only here, because these 5s see these 3 options. So sorry, there's a 5 here. I didn't spot it in any way quickly, and I apologise for that, but it's quite difficult, I think, to spot these quickly. That 5 forces this to be a 5 by Sudoku. That means... well, what does that mean? Does that mean anything useful? Let's double click the 5s, because we have got a lot of 5s now. So there's a 5 in one of... there's a 5 in each... well, there's an X-wing on 5s here, but that X-wing is not going to help. Okay, this can't be a 1, can it? Because there must be a 1 in one of the purples. Now maybe the 25 diagonal can come into its own, because I've got 9 on it now. Yes, these two have to. These two have to add up to 16, and I can't use double 8 because that can't be an 8. So this must be a 7-9 pair, and that one of that option, that can only be 7. So that's 7, that's 9. 9 is in one of those 2 cells. 7 is in one of these 2 squares by Sudoku. 7 is in one of these 2 squares by Sudoku. And it's at this point I've got to slow down, because this, well, for example, this 7, look, is seeing that cell. So this cell can't be 7. I can't remember why I pencil marked this one even though. This was to do with disjoint sets, wasn't it? Oh, this 7 is seeing these 2 squares, 7 and 6. Oh, good grief. Right, so 7 is in one of those squares. I have spotted though. I have spotted it. Right, this cell is a 6. That square could have been a 6 previously, but now, because it's got a 6 in its disjoint set, that's an 8. That does fix my 11 clue, which now can't be 3, 8. This is 4, 7. That fixes that corner cell as a 9. That locks 9 out of the purples. So we now know that in the end, this between line was a 1 and a 7 at the end of it. 4, 7 here means, this square's fixed. It's got to be a 6. That's not 6. If that's not 6, those had to add up to 10, so this is not 4. Can we do any better than that? Don't think so. This column is getting quite restricted though. 3, oh, hang on. 3, 4, 7 triple in row 8, so this is an 8, 9 pair. There could well be something looking at these. I'm trying to spot it. These squares are a 1, 3 pair, just to complete this box. 6 by Sudoku has to go here, I think. So it goes here as well. Can we do anything with that? The answer is probably, but I'm not seeing what. I've got a feeling 7s and 6s are now hugely restricted in this puzzle. 6. It's not quite good enough. Still haven't got this 3, 4 disambiguated. Is there something looking at these? Oh, this is probably going to get disambiguated by this set here. 4, 7. 25. Well, maybe this column as well, because this is the high digit on this between line, isn't it? Oh, that's an interesting thought. Look, we've got a 3, 4 here. So these 2 squares have to be at least, they have to include at least a 5, because I can't put 3 and 4 into them. Which means this square can only be a 7? You are kidding me. I think this square can only be a 7 on the basis that this cannot be a 3-4 pair. Let's just check. It definitely can't be 3-4, so there must be at least a 5 in here. So this definitely has to be at least 6, and it can't be 6, 8 or 9, so it is 7. That's incredible. That's not 7 anymore, so that's not 3 anymore. Oh, I've now got a 4-7 pair there, but let me just, I have spotted that, but I just want to have a think about this 7 first. So 7 is in one of those two cells. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's more stuff we can do, but I've got to use this 4-7, don't I? So that gives us 3, 4. That disambiguates these because of the disjoint sets. This 3 pair gives us a 3 here. That square is an 8 by Sudoku now. That 8 seems to see that cell. So that's a 4, that's an 8. That must be a 4 to complete the box. 4 goes here by Sudoku. These cells have got to be 1, 7 and 9, but that can't be 7. Oh, and that, look, there's a 1 looking at that, so that's 9. This is a 1-7 pair, so this should be an 8-9 pair. And there's a 9 down here, lovely. Keep going, 9, 8. There's got to be an 8 in one of these two squares. Now let's check all of the disjoint sets again. I don't know. There could well be all sorts of, there almost certainly are all sorts of things I'm missing here. This is a 1-5 pair, look. And I can't put a 1 on a line because obviously that cell would then have to be a 0. So that disambiguates the 5 and the 1. That 5 must go now here in the top row. 1 has to be in one of those two positions. I'm so sorry if I'm missing any number of these disjoint set restrictions. It's very probable that I am. This 9 means that's an 8. That fixes that that's a 9. 8 is here by Sudoku. This square's a right-in. That's got to be a 3. Now if we look at this line here, you can see it is working. The digits on it are between 1 and 7. Now this 3, does that do anything for anybody? So 3 is now in one of those two cells in box. I'm sure there's going to be a way of disambiguating this. Where is the 3 that sees one of those 3s? I don't know. So these cells are 7, 8 and 9. Let's keep going. This can't be 7. That can't be 9. This one can't be 8, of course. Now let's double check. Yes, 9 here. Sees that one, of course. I mean, it's bonkers, isn't it? This cell disambiguates row 3. Of course it would. So those go in. That's a 9 now. That's a 7, look. That fixes the 7 and the 4. 7 must go here. That fixes a 7 up there. This is now a 4, which is going to give us this 12 diagonal finally. That's got fixed. That should be a 6. That needs to be a 1. The 1 and the 3 go in. The 1 and the 7 go in. Have I done all the ones? I think so. This column still needs a 4 into that square, and that's going to fix the 3 into this square. That should give me a 3 here. It's terrifying, this, because I keep thinking I'm going to put a digit in and I'm going to get a clash. 8 goes here. This column, this needs a 4. That position there looks like it should be a 3. It looks like it's working, and this needs to be a 9. And what a beautiful puzzle that is. Let's click check. Yes. Well, I solved it. That is tricky indeed. Tricky indeed, but very, very enjoyable. I hope that you enjoyed watching. I hope you had a go at the puzzle. Let me know in the comments how you got on. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back again later, of course, with another edition